of the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living. I am Russ Randall. I chair this commission. Our commission serves the disabled community of Flagstaff by working to expand educational and employment opportunities, by improving access to housing, public buildings, and transportation, by increasing participation in recreational, social, and cultural activities, and by expanding and strengthening rehabilitative programs and facilities. Stacy, would you take the roll for us today?
Sure. Commissioner Becker? For you, I see you. I know we've chatted a little bit.
Present.
Well,
Had a hard time finding the button.
Commissioner Dorman?
Present.
Commissioner Eisenberg? He's absent today. Commissioner Purrington?
Present, and for some reason I can't get my video to turn off.
Oh. Chair Randall?
I'm here.
Vice Chair Sinaconda? Who's arrived yet? And Commissioner Smith?
Present.
Thank you, Stacy. And Commissioner Smith, it's really nice to meet you, and we're glad to have you joining our team. Perhaps you could give us a little information about yourself.
Sure, thank you. I'm Laura Smith. I am currently the Executive Director for High Country Adaptive Sports, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit here in Flagstaff that serves adults and children with disabilities by providing outdoor adaptive recreation opportunities through snow activities and summer activities. I have also been practicing as a speech language pathologist here in Flagstaff for the last 14 years. And I still have a small private practice of my own clients. I have 3 kiddos who are in the FUSD school system. My husband and I have owned restaurants here in town in the past, and I'm excited to be here. I grew up in the world of disability as a sighted peer at the Foundation for Blind Children, and so access to community services is a really close issue to my heart.
Excellent. Well, very good, and thanks for that. And Laura, we are excited to have you join the team. You have a different expertise than many of us, so we're excited to have you to be able to use that expertise, I guess. So
thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Okay, so recommended protocol for members and other participants. We should all have our microphones on mute to keep background noise out of the chat room. The chair will do his best to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak if they would like. Commissioners should use the chat function to inform the chair they would like to make a statement, and the chair will announce the commissioners to speak in the order in which they appear in the chat. And Stacy, you will help me watch the chat because that's a lot for me to do, but you'll help me with that. And then for this commission meetings and for all our commission meetings, we ask that you do turn on your camera if you can when speaking, and that just makes it a little bit more accessible for all with regards to our communication. So do we have any members of the public here today who wish to speak?
I don't believe that we've got anybody from the public that I can see. Please jump in if I'm incorrect. I think everybody that is here is staff.
Very good. And I won't read the participation statement. And we're going to shift the agenda just a little bit because I know Mayor Daggett needs to leave the meeting early today. So Mayor, thanks for being here today. And at this time, we'd like to hear your update from the council.
Hello and greetings, everyone. Thank you. I'm not sure exactly who on the commission sent the proclamation that was read yesterday for Disability Pride Month, but thank you for that. That was read at the meeting. And I have some resources that I'll send, I guess, through Stacy about housing and service animals. There's an organization called Arizona Pet Project, and their whole mission is to help keep people housed or find housing by helping to remove any kind of financial barrier or law, barrier to service animals. So I will send that along. And other than that, I don't have any updates. That's it.
Okay, well, that was a good update. And Mayor, thank you for declaring July as Flagstaff's Disability Pride Month. That would be me who drafted that letter to UN and actually drafted the proposed proclamation. I think as a society, um, we are kind of changing some of our attitudes and views towards disabilities. And I even hesitate to use the word disability anymore. Um, but I think as a society, we are recognizing that we all have challenges. And some of those challenges are greater and some of those challenges are smaller, but we all have challenges. And I think even the fact that a city would proclaim a month to be disability pride shows that we have kind of changed our views about disabilities and the challenges that we all encounter. And I love that, and I appreciate and I thank you for declaring July as Pride Disability Month because I think it reflects a change in attitude for our community as well. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments for Mayor Daggett? I don't see any. So I think we must be good. Oh, thank you for joining us today, Mayor.
Yeah, heck yes. Thanks for having me.
Okay, moving on. At this time, we're going to kind of move into action items, but I think it's also an update with regards to the Therapeutic Recreation Subcommittee or our working group, our Therapeutic Recreation Working Group, and then some consideration whether or not a letter might be going to the council and also whether or not we might be asking the community to participate in a survey. So I think that would be Susan and Sarah, if you want to speak to that.
Hello, everyone. Well, there has not been another meeting of the working group since the last meeting we had as an organization, or sorry, as a commission. And because I had to leave, I wasn't able to know exactly where we left off from the previous conversation to know what we would be writing in the next letter. So I'm going to ask Sarah to jump in on, because Sarah took lead on that, what's the focus of what we're asking in that letter or recommending in that letter.
I know we were talking about setting up a booth to try to poll the community and do a survey there. And honestly, I have to apologize because I just don't have my notes up from last time, Susan, and I pretty much just read from that. We want to look at with the city to kind of make some recommendations of simple ways, like I think training, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, but training would be a great way to start with the city staff and with the Aquaplex and that. But I would have to pull up my notes, and I apologize because I was running in here from another meeting. I just don't have it launched right now, but it would be exactly what you had put together, Susan, if you have that handy.
Yeah, and I believe Stacy sent out that the what we had put together as our summary of our working group. Did everyone receive that?
I did, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So we do have just a few simple suggestions to get started in trying to make more of the existing recreation opportunities across parks, recreation, open spaces, and events in the city of Flagstaff to be more inclusive. So thinking particularly on training of the individuals that currently are employed on some inclusive techniques for making recreation more adaptive or just, like I said, inclusive in general. So one of the aspects is working with an outside trainer. So somebody who does have the expertise to help those individuals that are already employed in pros to be prepared for interaction either on the spot as a public open recreation opportunity, or to prepare for an inclusive recreation experience by being able to make accommodations and adaptations prior to everyone arriving. Then we also just wanted to gather more feedback and insights from the community on what current practices are that are happening that people are enjoying and finding to be satisfactory, but also what are some of the needs, the gaps for some additional adaptive therapeutic recreation services that could be provided. We do know that the city, and particularly the pros department, is not prepared to start hiring new staff as therapeutic recreation specialists, people who do have the credentials to provide some of these resources, but that there may be some opportunity for professional development for existing staff to potentially get certified or get that additional training that exists out there. So part of gathering facts, I do know that, and Laura, you could always chime in here, that High Country Adaptive is working on a survey. The city is also, the pros department is also working on a survey, and if there's some possible overlap in a survey that could be disseminated from the city, from High Country, from other sources to gather as much insight as possible, that would be great. Instead of starting over from scratch from the commission, utilizing the services that are already existing would be wonderful. And then we talked about, and it may be too late this summer, but attending some of the concerts in the park as commission members to start having those conversations just in person with individuals to get insight and just be present as a commission to either hand out that survey or to just talk to individuals. So that is basically where we're at.
Laura, did you want to speak here, Laura?
Well, yeah, I'm just looking up the survey, Susan, that I think you're speaking of, which was created by our OT capstone student. And it's statewide information gathered about the barriers and benefits to adaptive recreation. And she's gotten about 60 responses so far. And I worked with her to develop the survey, and it's a really thorough one. I like how she organized the whole thing. So we would love to share it and look through it together if that's something that would be helpful, or yeah, let me know how we can help with that part of the process.
Yeah, and I believe the survey was a thought or a pre-development stage for the recreation department. So maybe they could take a look at that survey and
Absolutely.
either utilize the same one or adapt to city specific information. So that might be really helpful.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation that would need to happen with Amy Hagan with the city. So as far as oh, go ahead, Sarah.
No, I was just gonna say, and I do know we did put things into 3 categories, right? Short, medium, and long-term goals for the city too. So I don't know, did everybody receive that?
Yes.
Yeah,
I did,
it was attached to the agenda packet.
Recommendation on the short-term goals too. Perfect. So yeah, I don't know if that's something we want to talk about, just taking those short-term goals and making a recommendation up through the city channels and say, here are some recommendations that the commission has. And I don't know what the next step after that would be. Like, I know that's kind of the first step is to make that recommendation to either the city planner, and then that goes to the council and mayor. So if anybody wants to help me understand that a little bit better, I would appreciate that too, because I think we do have some pretty easy accomplishable goals in the short-term planning that wouldn't require a whole lot except for just some tweaking of things.
I guess all I would suggest too, and I'm not sure, were pros folks, and I think maybe Amy, involved in your working group meetings?
Yes,
So,
Amy was.
And Amy was there for all of the meetings. Rebecca was there for the first meeting.
so do you think, as a working group, are you ready to come to the commission, with recommendations for us that we would then recommend to the city council, or?
Sarah, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in here. We put together these short-term, medium-term, and long-term recommendations for inserting more therapeutic and inclusive recreation opportunities for the city. So that would be our foundation of where we go for recommendations, but making all of those recommendations doesn't seem feasible or realistic to the city. And so as a commission now, I think we need to decide on what we want to take from those goals and put into a letter for specific recommendations to the city. And those short term are definitely the low hanging fruit, the things that even Amy was in agreement that these types of things could potentially happen in the immediate future. It's just to how, like Sarah, we both are going, well, we don't know how this next step happens because we are still so new to the commission that it'd be at this point, Russ, your guidance on what do we do next? What should be included? And I am more than happy to write that draft letter once we do make the decision on what's going into that letter. Yeah, so this was a starting point to come back to the whole commission to have the conversation on what specifically should be recommended.
Excellent. Well, I'm kind of hearing that I think, that we might be ready to send a letter to the city, but just y'all would like guidance on what should be included in that letter relative to short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals, right? So, Stacy, would you be able to put the letter up on screen for us, or not the letter, the actual recommendations page?
Absolutely. Give me just a moment here and get it.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking is if we could see the short term, really pulling from that short term piece and get the commissioner's feedback on which one of those in that short term piece would be the first recommendation that we could move forward with. And it can be all of them. It just, we would like your feedback on that.
Is everyone able to see that okay?
Yes, I can. I'll give everyone a minute to kind of look at the short-term goals there, or recommendations.
If you need me to scroll, let me know.
If you could scroll, that would be great.
You bet. There, and then I'll go to the next page. You good to scroll?
I think so. Okay, commissioners, what is your thought on this? Well, I can share my thoughts on this. If we go back, can you scroll back to there we go, thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Susan and Sarah. I kind of think our short-term goals, or your short-term recommendations, are actually very, very doable. And I would love to see all three of those put into a letter to the city council.
So I do have a question about that. So these were recommendations to our commission to have further conversation. And that very first short-term item there of providing the table with information about our commission and to collect insights, that wouldn't necessarily need to go to the city council, right? So
Right.
that item is really just us internally saying, yes, we would like to do that, and start maybe at the strategic planning meeting if we're having one, to think about who would do what and when. If we're able to do that this summer, if we want to focus on doing that for next summer series. But the other items in there definitely are items that could go into a recommendation letter. I don't know where in the long term, there's one item of explore synergistic relationships with the planned Indigenous Center at Thorpe Park for shared use of spaces. I don't know where they are in the planning process of designing that space, but that may need to move to a short term if they are in that process right now, so that we're having that conversation of how that shared space should be designed in a way that would provide opportunity for inclusive recreation to exist there. So we might need to move some of these around a little bit based on where the city might be with some features or aspects of that as well. All right, so I'm going to stop talking.
No, you're all good. And so Susan, I assume that is the city pro staff that is planning the Indigenous Center at Thorpe Park?
I don't know if they specifically are planning that portion of the park redesign, but I'm sure they're involved in some way. But I would imagine that there's a separate entity that is helping to plan the Indigenous Center. I just don't know who that is.
I can offer just a little bit of insight in that. You're absolutely right. Pros is kind of taking the lead on the whole park design, which also includes that Indigenous Cultural Center. But there is quite a few partnerships that are occurring as part of that. It's an ongoing process. There's a lot of hands involved. So I think if you focused on providing that feedback and these recommendations, not only to council, but to the pros team, they'll make sure that that's included in kind of those planning efforts.
So would it be appropriate as part of the letter to be addressing both the city council and pros, or would that be something that would be a separate letter, one to the city council and then one to pros?
Russ, do you mind if I jump in on that?
Please do.
Okay, my recommendation would be that the letter is primarily directed to the city council. So city council is who would be directing the city manager to, have staff take on any additional responsibilities. What I would CC that letter to Rebecca and to Amy. And so what will happen is when I distribute that letter to city council, it will also go to our pros leadership as well as our executive leadership. So they'll be included in anything that goes to the council, so they're aware of those recommendations that are being made.
Thank you for clarifying.
And I would just kind of encourage the commission to remember as well that we make recommendations to to the council. We really don't make recommendations to city staff. Nor do we really direct city staff to do anything. We make recommendations to the council because that's what we are appointed to do. I'm kind of in agreement with you, Susan, that the one regarding the planned indigenous center, that probably should move into maybe a short term because that planning is actually occurring now. Other commissioners, what are your thoughts?
This is Laura. Stacy, can you scroll up to the short term again, please? I'm wondering, I'm just a thought. I'm wondering if, as we write these into the letter, if they should have specific ways of implementing these suggestions, like if we should outline specifically how we hope to see them happen or something like that. So when the city council sees it, there's a clear vision for the execution of these short-term goals. For example, like provide training, who would be providing the training? Susan, it seems like Kaibab, NAU, and Welcome Tier is who we're recommending would conduct the training. Is that right?
Sorry. Those are recommendations of partner organizations that are good resources, not necessarily to use those specific. They might already have an outdoor, or sorry, an external organization that they've already done some trainings with that they'd want to utilize some more.
And then the adapt existing pros programs, do we have specific adaptations in mind, or do we need that information now? I guess coming into the conversation a little late, I just have more questions because I don't know.
No, these questions are great.
No, they're great questions. And I know for a specific example on that Amy and I discussed was just adding Special Olympics to part of their recreational, sports. It just could be one of the programs that you fit into that. So that could be a specific recommendation. As we offer, volleyball, then we also have a Special Olympics team for volleyball as well. Something simple that they can add in. And she seemed very amenable to that as well. So, so we have talked about making those specific recommendations. I don't know if that's something that we want to do one more meeting of the team and just kind of come together with specific examples and fleshing out that final letter once we determine what we need to include in it from this meeting.
And another suggestion was actually from Truman of using the rock climbing wall and the aquaplex and having specific inclusive opportunities for adaptive rock climbing, specifically to a summer program that is happening right now. And I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that was an example of how the aquaplex could have some adaptations made that could go into that recommendation. So, but I do agree with Sarah. We may need to have one more informal working group session just to outline some very specific activity recommendations for those existing programs and facilities. Yeah.
Russ, it looks like Keith has got his hand up.
Thanks, Stacy. Go ahead, Keith. Keith, are you with us?
Sorry, I didn't get the mic turned on again. I'm using two screens and my arrow goes to the other screen all the time. Anyway, I think this is really good discussions and everything. Maybe this is something we might want to have the working group go over a little bit more, and then maybe even bring it to our retreat whenever we have that, and then maybe we can kind of, brainstorm it a bit more at the retreat.
Yeah, I think perhaps too. Susan and Sarah, looking at it, we are starting to, I think, operationalize a letter to the city, including recommendations. And I think we're starting to get some ideas about what should be perhaps our short-term recommendations and medium and long-term as well. But maybe more discussion. What do you all think?
Like more discussion as far as in the work group as to adding more to the short, medium, and long-term goals, or more discussion within our commission before, or would you want us to then meet together as a work group, craft the letter, and then we can add to it if people see things are missing? Like, how do you want that discussion to go? Just clarifying questions.
I think it's kind of a matter of how much direction you want, actually. I would not object to all of these being included in a letter to the city, and maybe even being phrased as short-term, medium-term, and long-term recommendations, because I think they're all excellent recommendations. And I think perhaps they address areas that could be improved upon for folks with disabilities in our community, quite honestly. I also think, though, in hearing what I think Laura said, perhaps a little bit more as far as how these things could actually come about. And you know, I count on you all as the experts. Um, so I mean, and maybe a little more time for some information gathering. I just learned, for example, that unlike I think every other gym or athletic facility in the city of Flagstaff, the Aquaplex does not accept silver sneakers or Renew Active for membership. I cannot fathom why that's true. In the interest of accessible recreation or therapeutic recreation at a city facility for especially folks who are elderly, such as myself, I don't understand why they don't accept those Medicaid programs. But I see you nodding your head, Susan. Perhaps we're in agreement here, but I don't know.
We are in agreement. I don't want to speak on behalf of pros. So, but I do think that is something that needs to be included. My recommendation would be for the informal working group to get back together again and outline more specifics, and then outline more specifics, draft a letter, send the letter out to the commission, have another commission meeting that reviews that letter and makes further edits and recommendations, and then it just either gets voted on and moves forward, or back to the drawing board. I don't think it would be appropriate to have a further conversation about this during a strategic planning meeting, because it is commission business. But if that's different than what the strategic planning purpose would be, then let me know. But I think the informal working group, particularly with Laura coming on, that would be it'd be great to have Laura participate in that informal working group with us and come up with those very specific items for recommendation.
That sounds great to me as well. Other commissioners, what do you think?
I'm willing to go any way you guys want to do it. I like the idea. I like what you guys have already got here. I think it's really good. And, you know, you guys are the experts beyond me. So I'll leave it up to y'all. I'm willing to go any way you want to do it.
And me too, Susan and Sarah. And Laura, are you interested in being involved in the informal working group?
Yeah. Truman is our program director, and I understand that he's been involved in those conversations. And so I'd love to get more involved either, I mean, directly. Our schedules are kind of all over the place, so it's always a scheduling issue, but I love being part of this conversation and I'm happy to help however I can.
Excellent. Very good. And then Stacy, with regards to, can we hold this discussion during our planning meeting? I think we can, right?
Technically, yes, you can. But, we'll agendize that as a possible topic. I do think, and I apologize. I think, to Susan's point, I see it a little different than strategic. But that's completely up to the commission to decide how they want to, approach that, as part of the strategic meeting or not. But yes, we could ultimately, discuss it if that's the desire of the commission.
Excellent. And then I think one last thing, and I think I'm really just talking to Keith and maybe Stacy, if you could put this out in an email too. If commissioners have other thoughts about what should be included in the letter to the council with regards to our recommendations, that they should reach out to Susan or Sarah, I guess. Especially since we don't have two commissioners here today. But
I would be happy to do that.
thank you. And then Susan and Sarah and I guess we'll be looking at you all holding another working group, informal working group meeting, and then for us to maybe have a letter actually to vote on to send to the council at our July meeting, our next July meeting.
I just, being realistic, am not sure if we're going to be able to have an informal working group between now and next official commission meeting or even the strategic planning meeting. Just knowing it's summer vacation time for a lot of people. So
And it is for me too.
I will definitely initiate a meeting poll to try and find a time and see if we can do that before our next commission meeting, but just being realistic.
And if it happens, it happens, and it doesn't, it doesn't. That's all good too, right?
Yep.
But we will be looking at a letter to go to the council, and I don't think we need to act upon that agenda item, right, Stacy? We're just right. Okay, sounds good then. Excellent, and great work, folks. I think your work is going to pay off in some increased opportunities for folks, which is just wonderful. So thank you. Oh, and then one other thing, with regards to the survey, are we going to reach out to the pros folks and try to coordinate with regards to the survey, or?
I think it should be a recommendation that there is a community-wide effort for a survey, but that we shouldn't necessarily initiate that. Just through our recommendation for the letter.
Okay, so in the letter. Okay, sounds good then. All right. Okay, very good. Well, thanks again, folks, for your work on all this. Okay, moving on. I see oh, something else?
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't know if you were able to see the chat. Kevin with our code compliance section, he's got a conflicting meeting today and was wondering if he might be able to be moved up in the agenda to make sure that you guys get the update that you need on code compliance.
Well, I think we can surely do that. So we are
Thank you.
going to do that, and we will have Kevin present, and then we will have Linda present.
Thank you so much.
Kevin,
All right, good morning.
morning.
Sorry.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, not a problem. We were just, I lost my screens for some reason, but we're good here. Hopefully they don't go anywhere. Yeah, just an update with code compliance. Everything is going well, working with Rachel. We've been working diligently to keep all sidewalks cleared off and informing and educating people. I thought it was interesting. A lot of times people are putting their trash cans on the sidewalk, and we either put them back on the property if they're taken, if it's been collected. If it hasn't been, we put it on the street. And I've noticed from at least some areas that solid waste has been, after the collection, have been putting them on the side of the road rather than on the sidewalk. So I think that's a win. Um, Small things working in our favor for it. But other than that, I think we're doing really good with working with you guys and working as a team with code compliance.
Do we have any, yeah, I was muted too. Do we have any questions or comments for Kevin? I saw somebody was clapping their hands. What? Yeah, oh, Sarah has, go ahead, Sarah.
I was the one clapping my hands, and I just wanted to say thank you because I did notice that in our neighborhood that we have small streets, and the only ones who put it on the street and not on the sidewalk. And when your guys come through, they put it right on the street. And so I have noticed the difference. So we know you're working hard, and we appreciate it.
Cool, thank you.
Keith, I saw your hand up too.
Yes, I want to say I've noticed a vast improvement on the way the trash cans are being placed. I'm just wondering if we could have the people in the recycle and the trash pickup vehicles, um, have them have a way to report the people that are putting out bulk trash at the wrong time or and in the wrong places. Because I'm seeing a lot of that now. Our bulk trash isn't for, I don't know, I'd have to look it up again, but here in the Sunnyside area, as soon as the month turns over and people get moved out or whatever, all of a sudden there's a bunch of bulk stuff sticking out, and so a lot of it's being placed right on the sidewalks and stuff. So I think since the people that pick up and the trash and the recycle are out there all the time, they would be prime candidates to help us report those things.
Right, and I have a good relationship with the solid waste. Unfortunately, because especially with both being so far behind, I believe Section 2 is allowed to be out there right now, and they're supposed to get collected next week. But they do give me a call if there's something that they see, because if they pull out on their own and try to make contact that way, it's going to keep putting them further behind. So I've always let Zach and Brian know that just give me a call and we can make contact to get things figured out.
That's all I have. I was just hoping that we can get some of these people that put it on the sidewalks, an easy way to get them reported by the people that are out there looking at this stuff all the time. I don't get to drive all the streets, but the people who are collecting the trash, they do. And
Right.
so they're the ones in my eyes that would help us considerably, get the message out to the people that are putting the bulk trash on the sidewalks. Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
And I don't think Jamie Martinez is not in the meeting today, right? And neither is Rachel, right?
That is correct. I don't see either of them have been able to join.
Okay. Well then, Kevin, I'm going to join, and I agree. And you probably know this has become kind of a serious concern for me.
Mhm.
It just is. And I walk my neighborhood every day. And as an old man, it's an exercise that I can do. But I walk my neighborhood every day. And in my neighborhood, I think it has gotten much, much better with regards to where people put their garbage cans and put their bulk trash. Um, and I hope come wintertime, I think and I think it was better too in the last spring and last winter with regards to shoveling their snow.
Yeah.
I think too, and you probably know, I would like to see more actual enforcement. and this is just me speaking as an individual member of the commission, but I still see a lot of folks who put their garbage cans on the sidewalk. And, every week. And I, as council member McCarthy told me, well, just move it. If you see it there. And I do, although I have to tell you, there was one time I moved it and a guy yelled out at me about why I was touching his garbage can. And I would prefer not to get into confrontation with anyone,
Right.
especially somebody, half my age and twice my size. But it is what it is. I would like to see more enforcement, perhaps.
Okay.
And again, this is not something the commission is seeing. This is just me as an individual. But the other thing, though, I would like to say is I also saw in Facebook and on Nextdoor, and I think, is that Samantha who does that stuff? She did, and it was wonderful posting about where your garbage cans should go.
Yep.
And where your bulk trash should go and when should it be put out. And do not park your cars on the sidewalk. And I saw those on Facebook and on Nextdoor. Then I also saw a lot of negative feedback coming back to her from that, which is like, what the heck, So then, of course, I engaged too, and I added in my stuff too. Is like, for folks with mobility challenges, you got to know that it's just bad to have stuff on the sidewalk.
Right.
And I guess I was shocked to see negative feedback coming back. But Stacy, you can do this for me too. You can thank Samantha for putting that stuff out there, because I think it has helped. Education is good, and education is really good. For me, though, at this time, Kevin, I'm kind of maybe thinking maybe more enforcement, but I don't know. Just speaking as an individual. So.
No, that's great. And that's why we're on here, to hear each other and try to come up with plans. And so we're trying to do the best we can with it. And you know what? You cannot fix people who don't have common sense.
No kidding. I know.
And that's what we deal with all the time. But we go out there with a smile, not enforcing as in, you better or else. We just really want to make them aware that there's more than just yourself living out here. You have everyone else who's living around you.
And I'll tell you, literally one day as I saw a guy, and he was not in my neighborhood, it was further away from my neighborhood, but out of my walk. But I saw the guy putting his garbage can on the sidewalk. And I said, city ordinance will tell you should put that on the curb and not on the sidewalk. And then he was like, well, who are you to tell me that? And it doesn't bother you. And I said, but my sister who lives down the street, who has mobility challenge, she can't negotiate the sidewalk in her wheelchair if your garbage can is sitting on there. And he literally said, I didn't know. He literally said, I did not know. So yeah. And with his smile, right? Always with his smile.
Right.
So I know. All right, sounds good then. And commissioners, any other comments or any other questions for Mr. Dunlop? Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us today, and thanks really for, I guess, increasing the education and really helping people know where their garbage cans should go and all that stuff. So, but thanks for that work too.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you so much, Russ.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Tilson, Linda Tilson, we have you here with us today.
Hi, yeah, I just let Stacy know in the chat that I need to get going at noon. When I looked at the schedule, it looked like I could fit this in. Seems like everybody wants to get everything done this week because a lot of people are going on vacation, so sorry for that. So Rachel, I believe, from this group had sent an email, and my deputy director, Richard, was the point person for this, but he has since left and is working in New Hampshire now. So I am here today just not really knowing, what the expectation is. I know we had a person that was having difficulty with the doors at East Flagstaff, and we can certainly move forward with getting those adjusted again. Richard said that that had been done 2 years ago, but maybe it's time to do that again to make sure they're within ADA standards. So happy to do that. She also spoke a little, I think, to the flush noise at the downtown library. And it sounds like that might be a bigger fix. That might be something that we'd have to go to council and ask for some funding for. I don't know what the other workarounds might be. I imagine this group is probably more knowledgeable than me on that topic.
Right. And and Rachel, who I think the email was sent to Rachel, or the discussion was with Rachel, and Rachel is not here at the meeting today. But I recall there were concerns, and I think maybe it was the children's bathroom at the East Flag Library.
The East Flag doesn't have a children's bathroom. The downtown is the only one that has children's bathrooms.
Okay, so but at the East Flag Library, it was about the doors, right?
I think
And
so. Yes.
I think so too. And I heard you say you're going to check and I guess modify or change so that we're making sure they're as accessible as possible, right?
Yeah, I can contact facilities and make sure that they test those again and make sure they're within ADA standards, because I mean, maybe they got out of whack if it was 2 years ago when that was last done.
Right. And then I do recall the noise, and I guess the noise then was with at the or the sound of the flushing in the children's bathroom, right?
So I'm looking at the email that Richard had sent to me about this meeting, and he said that, let's see, the kids area at downtown are not accessible. We would have to do some pretty large renovation if we were going to do that. So the workaround has been to use the adult bathrooms, which are ADA compliant. A big project was done a few years back on those. And I think that's where the noise is in the adult. Let's see. Yeah, I think that that had to do with the adult bathrooms at downtown. But Richard's concern with that was that those toilets already get clogged up a lot. So he was thinking that any adjustment made to those might worsen that situation.
Right, because I guess the ones that flush, I guess, more powerfully are obviously going to make more noise, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so not sure if, I mean, is there someone that Rachel would like to have me talk with a little more about this, or not sure what the path forward is other than definitely contacting facilities and getting the East Flag restroom doors looked at?
Yeah, and I'm not sure either. I think again, having the doors checked at East Flag, I think is a really good first step, at least, in the pathway. And then I'm not sure. Other commissioners, do you have any thoughts? I don't see any hands up. Well, Linda, I think that's kind of it for now.
Okay,
Because I don't know, Rachel's not here, but I think that doing the door business at East Flag Library would be great. So if you can do that, that's wonderful. And then I don't know if Rachel wants to meet with somebody else or not. So
okay.
but
Well, she can let me know, and
okay.
she has my contact information. Yeah, Stacy.
Yeah, I was just going to share that I would be happy to just share your information that you shared here with the commission with Rachel, and just let her know that if she's got some additional concerns that she could reach out to you directly. Are you the most appropriate contact?
I am at the moment, yes.
Great. I'll just share this information with her then.
And Linda, you understand, I mean, as a commission on inclusion and adaptive living, we are going to want to have all our city facilities as accessible and inclusive as possible. And sometimes that even means if that means the city spending a little money to make it happen, we're going to recommend that to happen too. But I think it might be kind of difficult with the downtown library, other than a lot of money being spent. So you may hear back from us.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure you will hear back from Rachel. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, of course, we could put on the docket for council consideration for renovation of those kids' bathrooms. But it sounds like it would be pretty major. Let's see, he says there are pipes and ductwork adjacent to the bathrooms that prevent expansion. That's why they were done the way they were done, I guess.
right.
So,
And I assume those were done, well, the adult one was redone a few years ago,
mhm,
but not the children's one.
mhm.
And so the children's one is like original, right?
I honestly don't know if those were built in 1987 when the building was built, or if they were added later. That's one reason why I had invited Molly, the children's librarian, but she couldn't come on this day because I knew she would have more background. But they might be original. I'm not positive on the children's bathrooms.
I mean, if they were done in 87, and that's the last time they were done, there was no ADA until 1990. So, of course, they wouldn't have met ADA standards, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Keith, yeah, Keith, you have your hand up.
Yes, it sounds like they're at least trying to make a reasonable accommodation with the children's bathroom by having the children use the adult bathroom, as long as they have an adult escort with them so that there's no issues between children and adults. And so if you guys are doing that as a reasonable accommodation, I think that's good. That at least gets us through the safety part of it and accessibility part of it, and it also allows us, or the city or whoever, to think about what they can do and how they can do it to improve upon the children's bathroom itself at some point in time and appropriate monies. We all know appropriating money takes time and almost an act of God, but we're here on your side if you need us to support you with the money appropriations.
Appreciate that.
That's all I got.
And I appreciate that too. I guess I was not aware that the children's bathroom at the downtown library was not accessible. And maybe that's a further discussion for this commission as well. Sarah?
Just a quick question, because some of those things can be alleviated, especially with kids that are older. And like if I have my son with me, I can't go with him into the ADA bathroom, accessibility wise. I mean, that's fine. It's a totally different situation. But do you guys have a family restroom or like kind of that style of restroom in the downtown library? I wasn't sure. I couldn't
No.
remember. Just because sometimes that can be a good compromise or a place where kiddos can go with their parents if needed. Thank you.
So Linda, I think maybe what I'm thinking is that maybe we would like the children's librarian, Molly, is it Molly? Yes?
Yes. Mhm.
To come to a meeting
Okay.
and kind of talk to us about how children who have mobility challenges and other needs actually can use the restroom at the downtown library.
Yeah, we can totally do that.
And from that might come a discussion about perhaps a recommendation to the city council about having an accessible children's bathroom at the city library.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Any commissioners, any other questions or comments? Okay, Linda, thank you so much for coming to join us today. And we appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing for people with special needs in the community. It's appreciated.
Glad to hear that, because it's not always appreciated, but thanks, Linda. Take
All
care.
right, we'll see you.
Okay. Moving on, or any more discussion on that, commissioners? Oh, I think we're good. So, Stacy, I think we would like to invite library folks to another meeting. And maybe specifically Molly, just to kind of talk about what bathrooms are accessible and how that all works relative to children who have mobility needs. So,
Absolutely. I will invite her and Linda. Well, I'll check with them to see if their schedules will accommodate our later meeting this month. And if not, we'll get them on the schedule for a future meeting.
excellent. Thank you, Stacy. Okay, so we don't have Rachel and Jamie here today, so we don't have a sidewalk working group update, I don't think. Or was nobody else from right, okay. And I think we did hear from Susan and Sarah with regards to the working group, therapeutic recreation working group update. So I guess at this time we can talk about our special strategic planning meeting. And trying to get that scheduled. And commissioners, we do want to do that, right? Just everybody, yes?
Yes.
Other commissioners, yes, we do. Thumbs up will do for me. I think so.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few thumbs up.
Okay, excellent. Okay. And when we met and talked about this last, I think I recall that folks thought a Friday would probably be best. Is that still true?
It's best for me.
Okay, Keith, yes. And Laura, just so you know what we're talking about, is we're looking at having a special meeting just as a planning meeting for things we would like to address for the upcoming year. And we're probably looking at, I guess, 2 to 3 hours. Kind of outside of our regularly scheduled meetings, right? But last time we talked, I think we all thought that a Friday would be best. And then, of course, a survey went out finding out what day might be best. And then it looks like we couldn't really figure out what day might be best, especially since we're transitioning to a liaison as well. So, but our Fridays, does it seem like Fridays are still going to be best? Keith said yes. I don't see other thumbs though.
This is Susan. I am now no longer available on most Fridays in July, except for the very last Friday, which is the 26th.
And I think, Susan, I think we are looking at August now, because I know when Stacy's going to be available, and I know when I'm going to be available. But if we're looking at Fridays, August 9th?
The first 3 Fridays in August will be fine. After that, I will not be available for the rest of the semester.
So that
Yes,
would be,
and I won't be available on Friday the 30th because that's right before the fair. And I'm out there helping prep for the fair. So
okay, and I won't be available on August 2nd because I'll be at a family reunion in Buffalo, New York. But how about August 9th or August 16th? And I'm trying to count up the August 9th or 16th or the 23rd or August 9th or 16th. Yeah.
those three are open for me.
And Stacy, yes, right?
Yes, I'm available all of those dates.
And Susan,
Yes, the 9th or the 16th work.
9th or 16th. And Sarah?
At this point, those look good for me.
I know. Our schedules change rapidly, as you're going to hear from me in just a minute. And then
What I
Laura.
was gonna say, and I know the 9th is that first day of school too. So in case the 8th and 9th are the first day of school, I believe, for FUSD. So I don't know if that puts any wrinkles in there.
Fridays aren't the best day for me, so I think you should schedule it based on everybody else's, and then I'll see if I can move things around.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. It's very hard. Scheduling is the hardest part of everything sometimes.
No kidding. And
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So, and we don't have Rachel and we don't have Michelle here. But
Could I just offer maybe a temporary solution until I'm able to connect with Rachel and Michelle? What I'd like to do is just send out a temporary hold on all of your calendars for both the 19th and the 13th. So hopefully that will at least hold that kind of time on your calendars. And then I will reach out to the other two that are not here to see if one of those fits. And then I'll update that calendar appointment if that's helpful.
Did you mean August 9 and August 16?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing that would help in terms of getting those times held on calendars is if we prefer a morning or an afternoon.
okay, that's right too. Right. And folks, I'm retired. So other than like a vacation or something, I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule. But to me, it doesn't matter. Morning or afternoon, doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, afternoons usually a little bit better for me. Um, I like to sleep in until the sun is warm, like around noon. Um, I work 4/10s, and so Fridays are my days. But I'm open to either one. If a morning works better for everybody else, I'm good for it. I can do it. Just an extra, pitcher of coffee.
It looks like Susan's indicating that morning after 9 a.m. So after school drop off is best for her. And Sarah liked that, so I'm assuming that that also means that that would be preferred for her.
Okay,
I'm good
so
with it if that's what we decide.
I think that's what we kind of are. So thank you, Keith, for allowing us to interrupt your sleep, I guess. But hopefully you're able to function. But yeah, so August 9th or August 16th morning, and you're going to check that out with Rachel and Michelle.
Yep, I'll get an email out to them today. Hopefully I'll be able to tie this up before I'm too far into my vacation. So we'll have some finality on this in the next week.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I guess we're looking at 3 hours, right? So maybe 9 to noon? Okay. Excellent. Okay, and then Stacy, should we send to you are things that might be considered or for us to discuss at our planning meeting?
I think that would be really helpful in formulating an agenda. The nice thing about this being a strategic planning meeting is um, it's a broad enough topic that we can really dive into more specifics during the meeting. It's not something that really needs to be heavily agendized in terms of very specific points. So it will be a general posting, but if you have ideas that you'd want to make sure get discussed, I'd be happy to take those and then get them put together in a good working list that we can utilize during the meeting.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for kind of doing that little extra work for us, Stacy, too. And anything else, folks, with regards to the planning meeting? Okay. I also see that I skipped right over one of the potential action items on our agenda. And that would be consideration of a letter to council regarding the Grandview and other projects. And I think that would be you, Keith.
Okay, I'm the one that brought this up because when the city came to us, I can't remember which meeting ago it was, and told us about the Grandview project and that, um, they were kind of explaining why they went with rolled curbs and stuff. And by the end of that meeting and afterwards, when I was thinking about it, it came to me that um, the project that they're doing with the rolled curbs is extremely wheelchair hostile and even dangerous. It's there's no place for a person in a wheelchair to get from one end of Grandview to the other. And I realize right now they don't have any sidewalks. And, the city's saying that people park over there and things, but that's convenience, and that's convenience for the people that live there. And that doesn't go to safety. And sidewalks are for safety. And not just people in wheelchairs. It's for elderly, for children, for people pushing a baby stroller. So quite frankly, any pedestrian of any age or ability, it's basically safety for them. And with the rolled curbs and cars parked on both sides, somebody's going to have to go down the middle of the street if they want to get from one end to the other, if they want to go to Safeway or something. And at some point, maybe even the people that live there will become needing a wheelchair or a mobility device or pushing a stroller. So, quite frankly, I thought it was extremely dangerous. And then I started thinking about they're doing a 3 foot rolled curb. Why did they not even think about putting in a 3 foot sidewalk, which is small? 40-inch would be better, but a 3 foot sidewalk and a vertical curb. That could have been done. If they're going to take 3 feet of concrete and do something with it, they should make a sidewalk out of it. That's my opinion. And I'm kind of, I don't want to say angry, but I'm disappointed that they didn't, the people designing this thing didn't come to the CIAL uh, for their opinions on this and for their suggestions on this, because we were totally skipped over on this, and that's kind of what we're here for, I think, to at least assist with these things. Now, maybe they could say, "Oh, well, there's this reason and this reason and this reason that it's impossible to do," but I find impossibilities are not as impossible as people think they are. And so, money wise, maybe it's a money wise thing, but I don't know. Um, I'm not good at drafting letters. So I don't know if Mr. Russell might want to draft a letter that we uh, might want to send to city council. This, our our dismay in the fact that we weren't included in this. And, you know, I mean, maybe there's plans later to put in sidewalks. I don't know, but I can't, I just find it totally behooving that it didn't come to us. And then, the city also wants this walk friendly communities thing. Well, how can they get walk-friendly communities? How can they get from bronze to silver or something if they're not going to put in sidewalks whenever they're doing a big project like this? Is a big project. I mean, let's grant it. We're not saying, hey, go here where there's no sidewalks and put sidewalks in. You guys are rebuilding this whole thing, redesigning this whole thing from one end to the other. And I can't imagine why sidewalks couldn't have been brought into it in one way or another. I know he mentioned they mentioned something about doing it for the residents, but um, you know, there's a lot of people that their lives could be in danger just going down that day, especially at night. So um, I looked there. There's like 60 homes in that area. None of them have a sidewalk, and none of them will. And it's not a very big street park vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I don't know if everybody will park on their property over the rolled curb, and maybe some do. I did see by looking at Google Maps that you can see vehicles that are parked, you know, part way on the street and part way on what would be over a rolled curb. So I don't know. I just think us as a commission ought to be able to draft a letter and at least present it that we're dismayed that we didn't get included and that hopefully we can be included in other things in the future. And I don't know if there's even a possibility to change this design because I know they're already pouring concrete on those rolled curbs. So we may be too late, but you know, I mean, if it's expense, you know, what is the life of a child worth, you know, or life of somebody in a wheelchair? What is that worth? You know, is it worth spending a little bit more to put in a sidewalk? Is it worth a little bit more for a little bit of inconvenience for people parking along that street? I don't know. Anyway, that's uh, that's kind of most the gist of what I wanted to say, but I want to bring it up as a discussion here. I don't think we have to make a decision on it yet. You know, my only decision part would be, you know, that we do draft a letter and if we can get Mr. Randall to volunteer for that. And then please do us and help us with it. I'd be more than happy to help him a little bit with it if he needed it. So I think I'm done.
Okay, Keith. Um, Other commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, well, I do. Stacy, if I recall, we did invite Mr. Overton to come back and talk to the commission about the Grandview project, right?
Yes, and the design team, there was a request, I believe Stacy Fovar made that request. And there was no additional information to provide. We have presented to this commission at some earlier time. I please forgive me, I don't know the date. And the feedback that was received at that time, you know, was sorry, you know, that was grateful for the presentation and the information. Nothing has changed since then. The project was ongoing, and again, continues to move forward. So there wasn't anything additional that he would be able to provide. And as Keith mentioned, you know, the project is well underway. In fact, they have paved already. And so they were at a point where we can't go back. And so as far as this agenda item was concerned, you know, it's up to the commission to decide if they want to send that type of letter that expresses, you know, that frustration or disappointment, and then and ask to, you know, make sure that this commission is kept in mind for future projects and consultation.
And thanks for your clarification and your recall, Stacy. And then even to go back a little further, I believe it was Council Liaison Mayor Daggett who brought this project to our concern or to our attention initially. And then and she just and there's been an ongoing discussion about rolled curbs and the city engineering standards. And we talked to the city folks about how we have serious concerns about rolled curbs. Um, and and how those rolled curbs are just really difficult for folks with mobility challenges. Um, and then the mayor brought to us the Grandview project and actually asked us if we would, and I did. I went and took a look at the project myself. I actually looked at it with a friend of mine who himself has a mobility challenge. I mean, I don't really have those kind of challenges. I have different kinds of challenges, but I walked that neighborhood with a friend of mine who is completely blind, and with his cane, he found the Grandview project to be creating a completely inaccessible environment. And I think this is Keith's kind of point is that, I I mean, we are the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living. And inclusion means folks should be able to access and be included to any place in the city of Flagstaff. So when a project happens that actually reduces accessibility, of course, we're going to have kind of some questions about that project. Um, and again, as Stacy pointed out, when Scott presented to us, it was kind of already a done deal, which I guess is a little bit discouraging as a commission that promotes accessibility. But and Keith, I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but am I reporting that accurately, Keith?
Yes, you are. Yes.
So Keith, are you asking for a vote today from the commission directing me to draft a letter to bring to the next commission meeting? Then would be a vote to send it to the council.
Affirmative.
So is that a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we draft a letter to send to the city council.
And draft it to be brought back to the
Oh,
next.
yes, yes, to be voted on, or to be approved, voted on and approved.
Okay, I will second that motion. Is there any discussion from commissioners? I don't see any hands up. Stacy, you don't see any commissioners wanting to discuss?
No, there is a question about whether or not we need to vote on this, as we didn't vote on the other letter to be drafted. I'm just gonna respond. So technically speaking, we don't need a vote to direct Russ to write a letter. I think the difference here is it does make for a clean record. I think what the working group is doing is slightly different because the working group will ultimately bring back a letter as part of their recommendations and further discussion of the commission. So it's slightly different. We don't technically need a vote on this, but I think for the record, it is fairly clear. And the reason I say that is if for some reason we don't have a majority of the commissioners that want Russ to do this work and to put that letter together, this saves that time. So I think it's a good idea to get a majority of the commission to indicate whether or not they're supportive of the drafting of this letter.
So let me ask you this, since we have 5 members of the commission present and not 7, so is the majority today 3 of the 5 or 4 of the 7?
No, 3 of the 5.
3 of the 5 because majority one's present. Okay. Susan, did you have your hand up, or I saw something, some kind of emoji fly through there?
I just did a thumbs up to Stacy explaining the difference.
Thank you. So Stacy, you think we should act upon this?
I think it's appropriate. This is a little bit different than a working group bringing forward a recommendation to the commission as well.
Thank you. I appreciate your expertise on Robert's Rules of Orders, because I don't have it. But okay, so folks, any other discussion with regards to Keith's motion? Keith's motion, which was seconded by me, was to have the commission chair draft the letter to bring back to the next meeting for a vote to send to the council. And that letter would just express this commission's concerns about projects that may be done relative to reducing accessibility. Did I get that right? Any other discussion, folks? Okay, all those in favor of Keith's motion and my seconded motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oop, hold on. The ayes again, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 And then, thank you. And then I think we had a tech glitch, and then opposed? Do we have anyone opposed? Or do we have any abstentions? Okay, so that motion passes, which means you gave me a job to do. Thank you very much. But I will complete that task to the best of my ability. Maybe with your help, Keith.
Okay, you're a very good writer, so much better than I am. And with my dyslexia, I write my sentence backwards all the time, Yeah.
All right, well, we'll do that. And I will have a letter for our next meeting. And then we can decide whether or not to send that letter at our next meeting. But so that will be an action item for the July 24th meeting, Stacy.
Got it.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I didn't skip anything else on the agenda here. Okay, Lorena, do we have Lorena here to report on transportation, yes?
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I apparently forgot how to unmute my mic as well. I'm glad that it finally worked out. I know we've tried to connect here several times. Quick update from transportation. We did receive our 5310 funding, which is our grant that funds transportation for older adults and people with disabilities. We also were fully funded for our ADA Plus and taxi program. In general, our Flagstaff Metropolitan Planning Organizations, so that includes the NAU Senior Year Companion, the Hosehoney Foundation, Hope Lives, and Quality Connections, we all received our 5310 grant funding, which is excellent news. We also have a quick WAVE update, and those of you who are not familiar, that is our Wheelchair Accessible Vehicle Committee. Our next meeting is going to be on the 17th of this month. We are currently working on a pitch packet to send to car dealerships and other potential financial donors to help contribute funds to purchase a wheelchair accessible vehicle for a local taxi company in town. We're looking to do this to provide on-demand service for persons in wheelchairs with hopes that it could be a 20-minute turnaround where someone can receive a WAVE pickup and be where they want to be within 20 minutes of their call. So that's our update on this side. And if any of you are interested in attending the WAVE subcommittee, I'm happy to drop my information in the chat. Feel free to email me and I'll be sure to include you in that. Thank you again, Chair Randall, for this time to update.
Well, thank you, Lorena, for being here. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Lorena? I think I see any. Well, thank you
I just want
again.
to say congrats. It's wonderful news.
It is wonderful news.
I
But
agree
Susan,
with that. Affirmative.
well, and Lorena can tell
Thank
you
you.
this. It's a lot of work. I mean, like, and as someone who worked with an awful lot of kids who had mobility challenges, including our youth liaison, and Joseph would be okay if I talked about it. Joseph's not here today, but Joseph would be here. It is tough for folks who use wheelchairs to get transported around the city of Flagstaff. It is just tough. And NAPTA does great, with the paratransit. But paratransit's kind of limited too. And you got to schedule it and all that kind of stuff. And we just don't have on-demand. I guess I'm saying that right. We do not have on-demand wheelchair accessible transportation in Flagstaff, which is horrible. I mean, the city is 70,000 people strong. It's something we really should have. And Lorena is working on it, and it's great. It's just kind of hard to make it happen. But it is going to happen, right, Lorena? So.
Oh, it's going to happen. We've got a team of people with different ideas, and we're not going to stop until it happens. So again, anyone else who's interested in providing feedback or hearing more about our mission, I'm going to go ahead and drop my information in the chat, and please reach out.
Thank you. And Lorena, I'm going to ask you too. We do have, as you've heard, we have the strategic planning meeting coming up. If you have some things that you would like us to think about and consider at that meeting, be sure to contact me or contact one of the commissioners. I mean, you're the transportation expert in our group. So if you see things that we should kind of address as well, be sure to reach out to me.
The planning meeting is open to the public too, I do believe.
I think so too. That's right
Yeah,
too.
it's a quorum, so yes, we are open to the public.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Lorena. Okay. Joseph is not with us today because Joseph is at Camp Civitan doing some things that are far more fun than being at our meeting today. As much as I tried to guilt him into coming to our meeting, I couldn't quite get him to pull himself away from Camp Civitan for that. We don't have Jamie here and we don't have Rachel here, but we do have Stacy here. So Stacy, do you have anything to add in our staff participation phase?
Nothing directly. I just want to apologize again for the challenges that we experienced last week. I think we've got a good path forward for future meetings. So keep an eye out for some new meeting appointments to be coming out that have updated links and so on and so forth. But we've made sure that those settings are appropriate to avoid that in the future. And then I look forward to working more with this commission.
Stacy, I kind of have a question. With the Teams meetings, when somebody was sharing their screen, I was able to break that out so I could put it onto my other screen. And I'm not able to do that on this meeting, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's something that you can set up in Teams or if that is something that's changed Teams wise.
I
So
will, yeah, thank you for the feedback. I'll look into it. Teams is always doing updates randomly.
it always
Um,
makes it easier for me because I can put it on a bigger screen and I can see it better than on my little laptop screen with all the other stuff that's in Teams on the sidelines. So it would help me considerably.
For sure. Let me look into it a little bit and see if there's something that I have control over on my end,
Thank you.
of course.
And Stacey, I got to ask you too. And I guess this is just kind of a technical thing, but I know there have been meetings too that have been planned for me on Teams with the commission where I could get in with the link that was sent out in the email, but I could not get in on the link that was on the agenda.
Did you get an error message on the link in the agenda, or did it go into just a meeting that was empty? Do you recall?
It took me into a meeting that I sat there and waited and nobody else entered. So it was just the wrong meeting, I guess.
Yeah, I think that those links were not necessarily updated as they needed to be. So those are some of the things that we're looking at to make sure are fully addressed and accessible in future meetings. So yeah, we're just kind of learning through a few of these challenges, but I think we've got it figured out in the best way to access these. So thank you again. Thank you for the feedback. We need to know all of that stuff, and we've been doing some heavy testing before the meetings just to make sure everything's working appropriately. So hopefully we won't have any issues in the future.
Excellent. Sounds great. And and I don't know if you know this or not, but Joseph and I try to get into the meeting like 5 minutes before because sometimes it's difficult for Joseph to get in and then Joseph calls me and etc. So I'm just going to ask if you can try to have the meeting open 5 minutes before. And then if we have a problem getting in, then we can try to make sure everyone can get in. So I guess so.
Absolutely.
She was open today almost 10 minutes before the meeting. So
you'll see
thumbs
I was
up,
there.
thumbs up.
I was there 5 minutes before too, but Joseph wasn't here today, but sometimes just for Joseph, I don't know, but all good. And then too, could you be sure, and maybe I should send an email too, but could you make sure to thank Samantha for the post that she did? Because they were wonderful and they were great, they were really well done. And then there was some negative feedback too with regards to it, which is like, what the heck, But people do not like to be told where to put their garbage cans. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, it's like, okay. All good though. But if you could let Samantha know that we saw those, at least I saw those, and they were really nicely done, and highly informative, and just great. So thank her for doing that for us.
Thank you. I will be sure to pass that along. And just so that this group knows, we do keep those posts. So if we find that we need to kind of periodically send some, reminders. We're happy to kind of repost those things in the future. And not to fret, we're used to getting all kinds of comments on our city social media. So we work through those, but I do agree. I think it was a good effort, and I think it brought some awareness, if nothing else, and we'll continue those efforts.
Excellent, and thank you. And trust me, Stacy, holy cow, the comments that came back to me were like, what the heck?
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. It's fine. Okay. Time for information items from the other commissioners. Folks, do you have any other events happening or anything going on that we should all know about? Sarah, yeah.
I have a couple of things coming up. Our parent support group has meetups in the summer, and we're doing the next one on July 17th. It's going to be a pizza party. I can send that to Stacy to send out to others, just trying to connect the disability community up here for sure. And the official save the date flyer went out for the Northern Arizona Disability Resource Fair. So I can also send that to Stacy for distribution to the commissioners. You can go ahead and share that far and wide. It's just a save the date. The vendor registration will open up probably the end of July, early August, per IHD timelines.
Excellent. And Sarah, I would encourage you to also send out those things to Michelle, and then she can send them out to the community practice transition team.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously, we want all that information shared. Any other commissioners with something to keep us updated on or information to share? Okay. With regards to our next meeting, which will be July 24th, I will not be attending that meeting. I was telling Stacy, I'm going to be in Durango on July 24th, and I thought I would just be in the hotel where I could come to the meeting. But my daughter and I have planned a float trip down the Adamus River, and apparently the float trip people overbooked. So now we are doing the float trip at a time where I will be on the river instead of in a hotel room accessing the meeting. So I will not be at the next meeting on July 24th. But I wanted to make sure that all of you commissioners will be here so that we will have a quorum.
There's
So-
no reason I can't be here.
Okay. Stacy? Oh, Stacy has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So I will be present at that meeting, just so that you are all aware. I know we are trying to get into a kind of a hybrid setting where folks can attend in person as well. I will need the next meeting to be virtual, as I will be out of town attending some training, and I will be able to, attend this meeting, but I won't be here in person. So it would be helpful to keep that as a virtual meeting, and then we can look at transitioning later.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so Susan, you'll be at the next meeting? Yes?
Yes.
And Sarah, yes?
That's my plan.
Thank you. And Laura, yes?
Laura had to actually exit the meeting, but my understanding is she will be at the next meeting.
And then I'm sure Rachel and Michelle too, but I just wanted to make sure that we would have a quorum. So, okay, sounds good, everybody. And then I think I have an idea about what should be on the agenda, but folks, do you have other things that we should have on the agenda for the July 24th meeting?
And just to confirm, based on our conversation earlier, I'll have the letter regarding Grandview and future projects. If you're able to get that to me before you head on vacation, I'll include that in our agenda packet. And then, like I said, I will invite Linda and Molly to attend to discuss the library a little bit more, depending on their schedule. But that's a tentative hold for right now.
I think that seems about right. Anything else, commissioners? Okay, I think we're good then. Thanks, folks, for being here today, and thanks for expressing your thoughts. And Stacy and Sarah and Susan, thank you for your work with the therapeutic recreation stuff and all that. But thanks, folks, and we will. I guess I won't see you on July 24th, but the rest of you will see each other on July 24th. So, okay. Thanks, folks. I'm adjourning the meeting. It's 12:42.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Happy
Thank
4th.
you.
You too. Stacey, and I think that was everything on the agenda, right?
Yeah, that was. Thank you so much for accommodating